So today I'm celebrating the arrival of the British peony. Yay! My favourite time of year. So good afternoon and welcome back. Now today's tutorial is a really simple one that anybody can do at home, and all you need to have is a jug. It doesn't have to be as ornate as this. This is a vintage jug from the charity shop. And if you haven't got a jug at all, then you could just use a simple vase that you might have at home. I've got these amazing peony. I nearly called them gerbera then, but I have these amazing peonies, and I just have some very basic greenery that's come from the garden. It's just a bit of oak. You might have a different type of foliage that you can use, and that's really all I've got. So 5 peonies that have come from the supermarket. These particular ones are British, and it's lovely to be able to arrange flowers that are from my own country. And instead of using floral foam or wire mesh, which is what we've looked at before, I'm going to add a grid effect across the top. Now this isn't a new idea, you probably have seen this before, but it's a really good one for simple flower arranging. And we're just about coming into the summer. It's not far off anyway. You might have flowers in the garden that are quite soft stemmed and flowers that really don't like being put into floral foam. And this little method of using a grid across the top of your container is really good. And it's something that you can adopt and adapt for different times of the year. Now what you will see is I've used green floral tape. Now this is Oasis tape that we use to hold our foam into position, but you could use sellotape. The reason I'm using the green tape is because it's more visible for you to see on the camera. And I'm going to go diagonally across the top today, only because the opening on the top of my jug is quite narrow. So what I'm aiming to do is to have little pockets there, little holes that my flowers are going to be able to sit into. Nothing more technical than that. What I'm hoping to do by the time I finish this design is to have covered that floral tape. Sometimes I talk too much and I forget, but we'll aim to do that as we're working. And this is the first time I've used this vase, so I'm hoping it's watertight. There is a slight crack in it, but fingers crossed, it's still going to hold the water. So we're going to pop that in about 3/4 of the way up. This has the flower food in it that came with the peonies, and that's really going to help improve the lifespan of the flowers. Now, anything that's below the water level that's possibly going to contaminate the water is going to be removed. And what I'm going to aim to do is to have the bigger of the peonies, these big open heads, towards the centre of my design. I think I'm going to have to remove that one as well. Now, in some circumstances, you can reuse the greenery, and I'm probably going to put this more towards the back. But we need to make sure that only the stem is reaching the water and none of these side shoots. Otherwise, it really contaminates the water. It makes it turn that horrible colour green, and it gets a bit smelly. So that's the best way to treat it. Make sure that you've used the flower food, because that will help keep the water clean, and you don't allow any lower foliage or thorns from a rose to contaminate the water. Now if we look at this one, it's got a little bit of a curve in it, so I'm going to use the curve of that in its natural form, and I'm going to swing that off to the right side. Now traditionally we group the bigger flowers towards the centre. If you've bought a packet of flowers and they're all the same size, then just spend a little bit of time looking at them and deciding which way they're growing, or are they straight like this one, or do they have a little bit of a curve in them. Now the only one that I have with a bit of a curve is this one here, and I think I'm going to use this to give me a bit of height. So you're looking at the front of the arrangement at the moment. I'm not looking to create anything really technical technical and really advanced. It's just a different way of you being able to arrange your flowers at home. And what you will see is, because that grid effect is on the top of my container, it's really holding everything into position and nothing is moving around. Now I'm limited to the height of my arrangement by the stem length of my flowers. Always remember that clean cut on the bottom. And what I think I'm going to do is have almost an asymmetrical design. The jug has got that lip on one side where you would pour out the water or the milk or cream or whatever you're storing in there. So I'm going to use that to gauge the shape of my arrangement. So we're slightly longer here on one side. My final Now my final peony is nice and straight. They were all the same length when I bought them, so I've left the 3 of them as long as I possibly can, concentrating on this more dominant focal section here. A little tip with buying peonies is, if they're fairly squishy, a bit like a marshmallow, then you know they're going to open. If they feel like bullets, leave them in the shop. There's no chance that they're going to open. So what I'm going to do with this final one is to just bring it here over onto the one side. Hopefully we can still see all our peonies. I'm just going to slightly reposition that first one that I put in. But we have a bit of a concentration of this gorgeous dark burgundy on one side, and then a slight bit of movement off to one side. And I'm now going to extend that by using some of my foliage. What I'm going to do is take a little look at it, see which way it's growing, which way it's naturally curving. Now this one you might be able to see is curving off to the right hand side. If I was to try using it that way, you're looking at the back or the underside of the leaf. But it's really visually quite heavy as it is. So I'm going to trim it off, remove some of the stems there in the middle, just open up the branch a little bit so I get a better shape. I'm still not happy with that bottom section. I still think it's going to be too heavy. So I've really trimmed off that quite a lot. And because it's naturally curving this way, this is the position I'm going to place it in the arrangement. It's not quite echoing the shape on this side, but it's giving me a little bit of an extra extended length on that side there. I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm just going to thin it out slightly so there's more space in between the pieces of greenery. This one has a nice curve to it, so that can help sit underneath my peonies on one side. And now I almost have to draw a visual line between those 2 pieces that are sticking out on the outside edge. So something around that area there. I'm going to use the same technique, select a piece of the greenery, slightly remove some of the foliage to thin it off, and then that can sit underneath that big headed peony that's at the front there. So that's how we're looking so far. So a really simple arrangement, just some garden foliage and those beautiful supermarket peony. Now I just want to look to see if I can extend it slightly further on one side. Take a bit of time looking at that greenery, seeing which way it's curved and which way it's shaped, and if need be, cut off a bit of the greenery to thin it out, making sure that your stem gets all the way down to the bottom. If you had some twisted willow or some salix, you could really add an extra bit of movement. You might have some grasses coming up in the garden at the moment, or you might have something that's really soft and wispy that's going to extend the length and the width of your bouquet. Now I'm just going to add a little greenery towards the back here, so it helps to give me some depth. And if we look at this shape, this is really beautifully angled backwards, and that's going to sit just behind my peony at the back. So I'm hoping that all that green florist tape is completely hidden, There's just a little bit here where I can pop in some greenery, but we've really disguised it there at the front. So one more bit at the side. Now what I really would have loved to add into this arrangement was something in gold to pick up on the gold elaborate embossed detail on the front there of the arrangement. Some golden twigs or branches would have worked really well, but I wanted to show you that you can create a really simple, beautiful design with just a small selection of flowers. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. It's a really quick tutorial today with just one bunch of supermarket flowers. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to be told every time I upload a new tutorial. Don't forget, you can pop over to the website if you want to know about any courses we're currently running online, and I look forward to seeing you very soon for the next tutorial. So goodbye for now.